Okay. Well, we played a second half of a game, played the third and fourth quarter of a game, basically. We had our number one units as Georgia, number two units combined with some threes as Louisiana at Monroe unit. We gave a 24-0 lead to the 2 unit. And if I'm not mistaken, do y'all know the final score? 31-24. Louisiana at Monroe team won it, what was it, you said 31-24. Had a couple drives at the end, Georgia did, to tie the game up, but was not able to do that. Let me think here. We also practiced our pregame warm-up, the countdown from the 65-minute mark all the way to going through all the pregame warm-up, pregame warm-up, going back in the locker room like we would normally do, and then hitting the field as a team right before the game. We did name captains for this game. The captains for this game are John Theus, Colton Houston on offense, Jordan Jenkins, and Leonard Floyd on defense. We didn't name a special teams captain this time around, but as our tradition has it, or at least recent tradition has been, that we will name captains on a weekly basis based on the performance in the game and how they perform off the field as well, academically and socially, all those kind of things. At the end of the season, we let our team vote for permanent captains, which is what we'll do down the road. But we're basically naming those captains based on what happened from the end of the season till today. And it's a pretty great honor to be named the first captains of the year, because it does encompass an awful lot of time and effort and energy. And we like what those guys have done. There was a couple other guys that were good candidates, but we decided to go with them. Quarterback play, we had Bryce played the third quarter with Georgia. Grayson played the fourth quarter with Georgia. Fatone had the third quarter with the 2s and a little bit of the fourth as well, fourth quarter with the 2s. We had, I believe we had, who else did we have play QB? Yeah, we had Sam and Nick. Yeah, Sam Vaughn played a series and Nick Robinson played a series too, also with the 2 unit. I thought just a couple observations in the kicking game. I thought Colin was really sharp today. Hit some good bombs. Hit a ball that late that should have been down on the 1-inch line. He was punting for both teams basically. He had a nice another kick that we kind of kicked end over end. He hit that right about the 10 or 9 yard line, which is where we want it to land with good hang time, good operation there. What we did was anytime our coverage teams were on the field, they were going to tackle guys to the ground. So our kickoff coverage team was live, we were tackling. Our punt coverage team was live tackling, and then when we were returning the ball, we would thud. And didn't get a lot out of the return game, really, punt or kickoff return. And the rest, I was mostly trying to manage this thing, trying to make sure we got the right amount of snaps with both units and make sure we got the right amount of kicking plays. And every once in a while I'd insert a first down for the 2s just to make sure there's enough reps with that group. Which was basically it's when our number one defense was in there. We had to make sure they got enough reps, things of that nature. So I wasn't really watching exactly who was making plays and all that. I was watching more of what was coming up next. So I'll do my best to answer your questions.
The fact that Lambert and Ramsey took the 1 snaps when you're trying to win the 24-0 deficit, the indication those are the first 2 guys would be in for you in most cases?
No. I mean, matter of fact, I mean, everybody's getting evaluated. Our twos have gotten to the point where they function pretty good, and even the twos versus the one defense, they had success. Fatone moved them. They did legitimately score a touchdown. Had a long touchdown drive with Fatone leading it, and so there's a lot of good evaluation on the Fatone as well.
You mentioned Leonard Floyd being a captain, but the offseason he's had with the shoulder surgery and moving around positions. What does that really say about him?
With Leonard, we see him as a guy that the team really respects. They know how good of a player he is. They know how good of a guy he is. He doesn't normally say much, but when he does, everybody pays attention. And, a big part of leadership is just having that charisma about you that guys do look up to you and follow you. Or I don't know if it's so much look up to him, but they respect him. And I think if he said, "Let's go, boys," they'd all be rallying right behind him.
Ask you something about him real quick. Leonard's a guy that, obviously we all know, have seen him play and know the respect he has on the team. But we wanted to talk to him the entire preseason. There's a lot to ask him about between the shoulder and the future.
Yeah, we'll get with him.
Is he just not want to talk, or y'all don't?
No, well, part of it has been, guys that are injured or coming off injuries. It's been our policy not to have them out there. So that's been the majority of the reason why.
You mentioned,
But we'll get them going here pretty soon.
you mentioned Colin Barber. What about kickoffs? What's going on there? Is there a competition? Or?
Well, Colin, right now he's the backup kickoff man, but he's kicked off well when he's had opportunities.
I wasn't asking about him per se,
But that was true. Well, we have let Colin take some shots as a kickoff. Rodrigo was doing it earlier on, but we wanted to see what Colin could do. And I'll just tell you the main reason it was because if we start looking at our 70-man roster, and if Colin can be the backup holder and the backup kickoff guy, and then we can find somebody else who could be a backup punter. Maybe we don't have to bring another specialist. We can bring another guy that can play some scrimmage down. So we're experimenting on that, and we've been experimenting with some guys trying to see who can long snap and maybe play another position as well. We're at least experimenting with that to try to not have too many specialists and allow more offensive or defensive players to be there.
So Marshall's still the guy as kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
Any came out of this one pretty injury-free as far as major stuff goes?
We came out very good. There was I don't think we stopped play for anybody for any kind of, even a couple guys you could tell got stung, and a body part, a wrist or an ankle or shin or who knows. There's collisions, and it hurts when there's collisions, but there was no injuries.
Going back to kickers, you've got Colin and Marshall that are here for 40 years, and you had Colin who had a little rougher season, and Marshall had a pretty solid last season. Where do you kind of see discrepancies there? Where do you see them?
Well, they both had very good camps right now, and I think they'll have really good senior seasons. We've got to be looking towards the future, too. Who's going to replace them? And we haven't got anybody committed in those areas right now. And, it could come from a walk-on spot. It could come from a scholarship situation. I'm more concerned about next year's kickers than I am this year. This year, I feel real comfortable with these guys.
Do you see them kind of stepping in and helping out for the future in there?
Well, I don't know what you mean by helping out in the future.
This is the younger guys.
Well, I don't know if the guys are even here who will be the guys next year. We may end up signing a punter and signing a kicker, possibly, who aren't even here yet, or there may be a walk-on who shows up and wins the job or something like that. So now there's guys here that could be, obviously, and they're helping them. I think just observing how they go about their business helps them a lot. So a guy like Rodrigo certainly is benefiting from seeing those guys work.
Did you see a new attitude with Colin, from the spring?
Colin didn't really make it public, but he had some, or he may have, I don't know, but he had some lower back stuff going on last year that was bothering him. And I think that was legitimate, and he feels very healthy. He's in good spirits. he's kicking the ball really well. He's punting the ball really well, and he kicked off extremely well.
Coach, are there any position battles that are a little clearer now after all the scrimmages?
I mean, I would have to sit with the staff, and we usually watch the film tonight, and then usually the next day that we meet, we talk about personnel across the board and how everybody's doing in the race. Like, for example, last scrimmage was on a Saturday, and then we came back Monday morning and we talked about every single guy across the board and how they're doing and where they fit and who would be in the 70 and who would be in the 80. When I say 70, I'm talking about traveling SEC. And when I say 80, I'm talking about a home game against SEC people, in case the readers or the fans want to know what I'm talking about. But we'll have a better idea here in the next, by tomorrow morning, we'll have a lot better feel.
How long is that meeting, Mark, when y'all do that sort of?
The first time I met with the defense separate, then the offense separate, and then I brought everybody together and we talked about how it related to special teams. After the second scrimmage, we had everybody in there so everybody can hear what everybody thought about all of our players. And part of that reason is you may have a high school coach call you from your area and he recruited offensive player, but you happen to be a defensive coach and you're like, how's so-and-so doing? And like, I really don't know how he's doing. So we decided to all sit in there together and hear it out. That also allowed all the special teams coaches to hear everything as it was going on, so we didn't have to do it twice. But the meeting took at least 45 minutes to an hour.
Your quarterbacks, how did they play today? I mean, obviously they're spotted at 24 deficit. They got back in there.
Well, there was a pick six. There was a pick six for Georgia that was one of the touchdowns.
Okay.
So does that leave 10 points? Oh, it was 17 points.
17 points.
Yeah. So and there was a long run by Sonny Michel. That was one of them. So that's 2 touchdowns.
About how long?
It was probably over 50 yards. It was over 50 yards. So that's 2 of the TDs. And I'm not even sure. There might have been a touchdown pass. But
Mark,
I don't remember.
in a typical SEC game, how would you envision tailback carries going if you had a healthy complement of backs?
You're going by percentages, it's hard to say, but Nick would get the most. You know, Sonny would probably get the next most, and I would say, you know, probably, I mean, Keith and Brendan both, I think, had played, you know, very well. I think they both probably earned the right to be the third guy. I'm not exactly sure how we would do that, but Keith, as of right now, would probably be the third guy, and Brendan the fourth, but really both those guys have proved to be game ready to me. I look at it that way with those guys.
We've talked so much about the quarterbacks, but the perceived strength of the team are the running backs. How's Nick been?
He's done well.
Like we've not even talked about him.
He's done well. He's been very solid. There wasn't a whole lot of space for him today. You know, he earned everything he got today. The offensive line play, the number one unit, I think has really had a really nice camp. And I think our twos, if you remember, I was saying of all the units, the two line was the one that scared me the most, really. But they have probably improved the most since that statement, because they really, quite frankly, had farther to go than most units, in my opinion. But I think defensively, you know, the down linemen, there's really truly not a lot of depth right there right now, and we will absolutely have to do it by committee. You know, I don't see 3 guys that are just going to be playing a much higher percentage than the next 3 guys. I think we just got to keep them as fresh as possible, rotate them the best we can. You know, when people start going no huddle and don't substitute, guys got to stay in there, you know. But my guess is the first chance we get to make a sub, we will once we get it rolling a little bit in that regard. I think our outside linebackers right this minute are better pass rushers than the run stoppers. I think they're improving in that area, but we got to get better there.
Coach, to change subjects a little bit, the Athletic Association, whoever makes the decisions, decreased student tickets by 2,000 this year. What is your reaction to that? Do you think there's a difference in those 2,000? Does that difference?
Well, I don't know everything that's going on and exactly why decisions are being made, but a lot of times it just has to do with if there's some empty seats up there, we don't like to see that. And so that may have been, I don't know. They might have looked up there and said, there's space. They're not using them all, so let's give them to somebody who wants to be there. But the ones that do go there, we're very, very thankful for, and when they come early, it means so much to our team. So, you know, hopefully there'll be no empty space in the student section, and they can demand more next year.
How good do you think your offense is going to be this year, regardless of whoever?
You know, it's hard to say how good our offense will be. When you have a veteran line and you have linemen playing well, if space is created for backs, all backs tend to run well with space. You know, all QBs tend to play better when they've got a nice pocket. And so I think we'll see some good pockets. I think we'll see some good space in the running game. So whoever's the quarterback's going to benefit from that, I think, most of the time. I think our runners will have opportunities to get into the secondary and do their thing. So, but you know, I mean, one of the problems we had is we had a turnover on offense in the third quarter. And when the defense, I think, got a turnover, and the offense had the ball inside the 30 to start the drive, I think, and started moving it, you know, looked like methodically down the field, but then there was a turnover. It's a fumble. Got no points out of it. If we got 7 there, then maybe we'd have played overtime and maybe won the game. But and my goal was, there was really 2 drives where the offense could have gone down and scored a touchdown to tie it. And my thinking was, if we get a tie at the end of this thing, we're gonna practice overtime. It'd have been a good time to do that. We haven't practiced that yet. That's on the docket yet to do. And usually by the third scrimmage, we have practiced an overtime situation, but we kind of went more scrimmage than situations this year. So we still got to find some time to do overtime.
Last question.
Coaching the evaluation process of the quarterbacks, what's the next step now? What's the next thing you and Coach Schottenheimer are going to do when y'all are going to break this down and ultimately decide who's going to be the starting quarterback?
Well, I think we'll watch what happened today, and then I think we'll have to look at the total body of work from the beginning of camp and probably put a little more weight on what's happened as of late, and try to decide if it's time to nail it down or just let's keep going. I think that's going to be the decision, not so much. I don't think we're bent to say 100% we're going to name a starter after this thing. We're probably going to decide, do we keep it going, or do we make a decision and go with a guy? My gut is we'll probably keep going in some way, shape, or form, and it may roll into the game. There may be more than one guy playing. If it was today, my feeling would be I'd probably play more than one guy. If it was today. What's that?
You're still not a piece in, huh?
No, not yet. Okay.